The Philadelphia Eagles probably should have lost that game to the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. The only reason they didn't is because the Jaguars are in a worse state than the Philadelphia Eagles are. If the Eagles had lost that game, they wouldn't have heard the last of it, but they managed to win the game. Saquon Barkley had an excellent game. You look back to that game, he had the backwards hurdle. I mean, the internet blew up after everyone saw that. They witnessed something they had never seen before. I mean, I had never seen anything like that before in football. But the one thing that continues to hold this Philadelphia Eagles team back is Nick Sirianni, because he has to get involved in every single thing. He doesn't know how to sit back. This guy is not fit to coach this football team. I'm going to say that again. Nick Sirianni needs to be fired by the end of the season. That is the one guy that is holding this team back. And the reason for it is because he makes everything so difficult. He makes things that are so easy look difficult. It doesn't have to be that complicated. But he makes it complicated with his boneheaded decisions. And it's his decisions that continue to hurt this team. It's the self-inflicted wounds. And that's a problem. And Philadelphia, at some point, those fans in Philadelphia, they're going to say enough is enough. He has to go already. He has to go. Nick Sirianni is the reason why the Eagles struggle every single week. Even if they win the freaking game, it's ugly. It's never a pretty picture. Because you got a guy who flat out doesn't know what he's doing. And we see this crap every single week. Why? Because Nick Sirianni is the guy that is holding this team back. And I know I'm repeating myself by saying that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. He is not going to last very long in Philadelphia. I can tell you that right now. I felt like the guy should have been fired after last season. I felt like last season was the end for him. He's holding on to his job. He's falling off a cliff and he's holding on. At some point, he's going to let go. And that's going to be the end of Nick Sirianni. It should have been the end of the Nick Sirianni era after last season. And I've said that countless times. Fans are fed up with this guy. And again, the Eagles win a football game in spite of their head coach. They win a football game. But Nick Sirianni is not the reason why, because he's not a genius. He's not a very smart guy. I mean, he's not intellectual. That's for damn sure. I can tell you that. The reason why this team won that game on Sunday is because, and again, they probably should have lost the game, but they didn't. The reason they won that game was because they played against the Jacksonville Jaguars and because of the game that Saquon Barkley had. And Jalen Hurts, once again, I can say good things about him because he did not have a freaking turnover. Again, he played clean football. He took care of the football. So that was the key to winning that football game. Not the boneheaded decisions by your head coach or going for it on fourth down. The guy gets too aggressive and it usually backfires in his face. And I'm pretty sure Nick Sirianni is probably like, oh my God, thank you guys for saving me this week. Thank you to Saquon Barkley. Thank you to Jalen Hurts for doing your job and making me look good for another week. But it's gonna come to that one game where Nick Sirianni is just gonna look completely bad, and Jalen Hurts might have a game where he turns it over here or there. He might have a fumble. He might have an interception. It's going to come that moment where the quarterback slips up, where Saquon Barkley is having a bad game. And again, Nick Sirianni is calling plays like he's outer space somewhere, or like he doesn't have a clue what the hell is going on. And the Philadelphia Eagles are going to end up losing the game. Because that's what usually happens with this Eagles team. Because you have a guy like Nick Sirianni who is brainless and clueless and doesn't know what the hell he's doing, yet he still has a job as a head coach in the National Football League. And I think if he gets fired, I think Howie Roseman might have to go as well. Because this is his guy. This is his guy. This is who he hired to be the head coach of this football team. And Nick Sirianni shows week in and week out that he is not head coaching material. Yet they are standing by this guy's side, which is hard to believe because of the way he has coached this football team. Poor management, terrible play calling. The guy screws up every single week, gets bailed out last week by Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and the rest of those Eagles players. I mean, there was a lot of good things to say about the game, but it's hard to say those good things that happened in the game, that transpired in the game, because again, the coach and his bad decisions overshadows that. You see what I'm saying? So again, Nick Sirianni is trying to do too much because he makes things more difficult than what they are. And that has been the problem, and that has been the theme all season for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's going to continue to be that way as long as you have Nick Sirianni as your head coach.